This is our first official 2024 recruiting show. So we're going to start with Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, USC, Miami. Nope. We're starting with the big news from the first weekend of the 2024 cycle. So where do we go? We're going to Boulder, Colorado, where Deion Sanders and the Buffaloes made the biggest news of the weekend. Deion Sanders isn't hard to find in 2024, and on Saturday, he went into SEC country and landed a top 200 player in America. This is the Inside Scoop. I am your host, Josh Newberg. Let's bring on national recruiting analyst Sam Spiegelman. Sam, let's start with the big news, and that is four-star athlete Juwan Johnson committing to Colorado over the weekend. He said this: I wanted to build something that I feel has been broken. The people there are changing the game with their actions and the culture, and I just wanted to be part of something bigger than just football, and I feel like the school is getting ready to do something bigger than just football. And that is why Johnson chose the Buffaloes over the Florida Gators and the LSU Tigers. So Deion Sanders making waves already. Sam, are you familiar with Juwan Johnson? He's from Louisiana, so I'm assuming that you've seen him quite a bit.
I've seen a lot of Juwan Johnson. He plays quarterback for LCA, one of the state's top powers out of the Lafayette area. He has offers from the entirety of the SEC. He got Florida right after Christmas, and then Deion came calling around the same time. He plays quarterback at the high school level. We've seen this a lot, but he runs a 4.5 40. He has exceptional change of direction. He projects as a defensive back at the next level, which is why Prime has come calling for Juwan. But he's also a prolific playmaker on the offensive side of the ball. And while he was in Boulder, the Colorado coaching staff said there's no reason that if you're an athlete, you can't play both sides of the ball. That's obviously part of the reason why Travis Hunter is in Boulder with Deion, is why Travis Hunter went to Jackson State with Deion.
Yeah, let's set this straight. I mean, LSU and Florida weren't just hats on the table when Johnson made his decision. He's been to LSU numerous times. Like you said, the RPM was trending in that direction for much of the offseason up until last week. And he visited UF 2 weeks ago. So what message does it send for Deion to go into SEC country and land a prospect like Johnson over two other powerhouse SEC programs?
I can tell you this, it's definitely ruffled some feathers in SEC country. I think that this was kind of you want to say that Cormani McClain was the wake-up call, but, that was a very unique recruitment. You and I have had a lot of discussions about Cormani over the last few months, and every time we have to preface it by saying this is a unique recruitment. Juwan Johnson has a more, typical by-the-book recruitment in SEC country, getting recruited by LSU and Alabama and Texas A&M. Colorado being in the mix. It's a wake-up call that these battles are not going to be as easy as it seems. He's been public telling, hey, I'm coming into Louisiana, I'm coming into Florida, I'm coming into Texas. He's already done some of these things so far, so he's not lying about anything that he's telling everyone that he's doing. The biggest thing for Colorado, and what we talked about last week at this time, getting a top 15 or 20 recruiting class, is not only winning the offseason, but carrying some of that momentum into the fall.
If you guys are watching this, I need you to like this video and subscribe to the On3 YouTube channel. All the latest recruiting developments are covered here. Plus, we have tons of college football content. So do me a favor and subscribe to the On3 YouTube page. Colorado moves up 15 spots with the addition of Johnson. They're now number 18 in the On3 consensus team rankings for the 2024 cycle. And I know what haters are going to say. Oh, Deion's building a 7-on-7 team. Well, you guys aren't paying attention. Their highest rated commitment is four-star defensive lineman Omar White out of Valdosta. He's the number 102 player overall. Johnson checks in at number 195 overall, although On3 likes him a bit more. We have him at number 115. So Deion already has two players in the top 200 already committed. I think this shows that all these early visits that we've been talking about, people want to kind of push it aside saying, oh, these guys aren't going to pick Colorado ultimately. Well, listen, you get enough of these guys on campus, it's going to start resulting in not just making these top lists, but also landing commitments. And that's what you saw over the weekend with Juwan Johnson. Sam, is Deion's success in the South so far, is it going to start stepping on toes of some SEC and ACC programs as this 24 cycle rolls along?
I think it already has, Josh. This is like I said, this was a wake up call. We've talked about on the show, and I think seeing Colorado very quickly being in top fives and top tens, that's one thing. Making a visit there and then still picking the Alabamas and Ohio States and Georgias of the world, that's another thing. But
Hmm.
when you pick the Colorados over the said Alabamas and LSUs of the world, that's a wake up call. He went into Louisiana. He went into Florida. He got Kylan Fox from Georgia on campus. He went into Chattanooga and got Boo Carter to come visit. I don't think that Colorado is just a top three team. I think that they are legitimate contenders. Not everyone is going to make a decision on February 4th or 5th or 6th. But I think that as they get on campus, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the first taste of Colorado, and then they're back in June for their official visits before they make their decision. So I think Colorado is on the map. I think Deion is recruiting at a very high level that we saw at the back end of 2023. He's kicked 2024 off in sensational fashion. I think, I don't know if there's a cap for what Deion can do, but it's been pretty impressive so far.
Yeah, you mentioned Kalen Fox, four-star tight end out of Grayson High School there in Georgia. That would typically be an SEC, ACC recruitment at this point, but you got Deion Sanders in there getting him on campus. Kylan Fox showing interest. You also got a guy like four-star wide receiver Ryan Wingo, the number one player in the state of Missouri, top 5 wide receiver in the entire country. And here looks like a slam dunk for maybe a program like a Tennessee, who would probably be considered the favorite right now, if not for Deion. Sam, are we seeing just a whole change in dynamics when it comes to Colorado being able to recruit anywhere in the country?
I think Ryan Wingo, looking at Notre Dame, Tennessee, Missouri, and Colorado, says it all. That's one of the top 5 or 6 players in the country, the number one receiver in the country, not named Jeremiah Smith. And he's looking at Colorado just at the same level. He's looking at Tennessee, which is an SEC darling of a college football blue blood that's on top of the SEC right now. I think Colorado is very much a national brand at this point, being mentioned in the same conversations as Tennessee and Notre Dame and LSU and Alabama right now.
Yeah, and you look at Brandon Davis Swain, his recruitment should be a typical Big Ten battle. Michigan, Notre Dame, Penn State, Big Ten country. But now Deion's involved. So we're going to see what happens here. It's really interesting. Deion already has the Buffaloes inside the top 20. They finished in the 30s in 23. Deion already inside the top 20 in 2024. Let's see if they can push on to a top 10 class. The 2023 class is settled, and we're turning the page to 2024. So let's talk about who's starting out hot on the recruiting trail right now. How can we not start with Georgia, all right? They finished number 2 in the 2023 cycle, but boy, are they out to a hot start. They have the number 1 class in America, 10 commitments already for the back-to-back defending national champions. And it starts with the top of their commit list. Look at this. Number 1 cornerback in America, Ellis Robinson. The number 1 tight end in America, Landon Thomas. And the number 2 safety in the country, Peyton Woodyard. Such a strong foundation to this 24 class, but they're not done yet. Sam, they're in the hunt for Dylan Raiola as well, the number 1 overall player and the number 1 quarterback in the country.
They're also in the mix for KJ Bolden, the number 1 safety in the country. They're in the mix for everyone who is number 1 at their position in the country, because Georgia right now is recruiting in the same level that Nick Saban has had Alabama recruiting at the past decade plus. And I think those 2 teams are recruiting at a different level than every other program in the country right now. I mean, it's February 6th, and you and I are talking about them having the number 1 corner, the number 1 tight end, and the number 2 safety already committed, and then being in a very, very good spot with the number 1 quarterback and the number 1 safety. I love narratives. It's why I'm in this business. So, in our industry, recruiting, the narrative has always been that, Georgia recruits at such a high level, but it never shows on the field when it comes to the trophies. And now you look at this narrative and it's completely flipped. And that's what the beauty of college football, sports, and recruiting is that they are recruiting at the highest level. So it's no question that they're running away with these championships every single year now.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see who can kind of recruit with UGA this cycle. We know Alabama can. They're going to give UGA a run for that number 1 spot, but can Ohio State, can Texas? We'll see. Another team that is awfully hot to start the 24 cycle is South Carolina. They ended the 23 cycle with the commitment of 5-star athlete Nicholas Harbor. That kind of brought a lot of excitement to South Carolina, and they finished 16th last year, but they're currently 7th in the 2024 rankings, and they start the year off with 4 commitments inside the top 200. We take a look here at number 40 overall offensive tackle Cam Pringle, linebacker Wendell Gregory's number 120 overall, at number 146 tight end Michael Smith, and Mazio Bennett fits in there at number 199, and they're not done yet. They lead in the RPM for Josiah Thompson at number 75 overall. Sam, what are recruits saying to you about the South Carolina program right now?
I think they're saying a lot by their actions right now. South Carolina and Shane Beamer are on top of the world right now. And look at their last couple of commitments. Cam Pringle, the number 1 offensive tackle in the country. This guy is this is what we're talking about. South Carolina winning recruiting battles that we're seeing Georgia and Alabama typically run away with. I think this is the continual building of a program that, when you really feel that a program is turning the corner and really ascending, this is what it looks like. Knocking off Tennessee, beating Clemson, a couple of big wins, and it usually leads to a couple of big commitments along the way. And I think what you're seeing on the recruiting trail is they are believing in South Carolina that they are turning a corner. And Cam Pringle committing that early. Mazeo Bennett is an absolute stud. He's the number 1 player in South Carolina, and he's got all the same offers as anyone in the country as the number 1 receiver. But they believe in South Carolina. Shane Beamer has a very youthful energy about him. His staff resembles that as well. And right now, if they keep recruiting, a few knockoff wins is going to turn into a couple of really great seasons over there. And I think that they got all the juice right now.
I agree. I think Shane Beamer's passion for the program is kind of infectious. And right now, recruits are eating it up, and they're doing really well. We'll see if they can sustain that. It's a long run all the way to signing day. The third hottest program entering February is Auburn. Last cycle, they finished 17. Hugh Freeze already has the Tigers at number 15. Over the weekend, they get a big commitment from 4-star QB Walker White. They also have 4-star corner Jaden Lewis committed to them. Tell me about Walker White and his importance to this Auburn class.
This is an incredible recruiting battle. We love the RPM, right? The RPM is our friend at On3. I love RPM breakers as well, and this was an RPM breaker because Walker White was a top target for a lot of schools over the last couple of months, and Hugh Freeze gets his first big domino to fall when he gets to Auburn. We've kind of been waiting for this. Let's go back to Walker White. He's been Lane Kiffin's top target for a very long time since he's been at Ole Miss. But he recently, visited Auburn and Clemson. He's a 6'3", 225-pound quarterback. He's built like a tank, and he can run the ball. He's got an incredible live arm. Man, you talk about the future of the offensive side of the ball at Auburn, and what Walker White brings is not only a passer, but he is really a tremendous athlete. He can get outside the pocket and extend plays. He operates out of a high-tempo, fast-paced offense. He kind of is a perfect fit for Hugh Freeze. You get your quarterback this early on, it really kind of gets recruiting kind of steamrolling. And they're already in a good spot with a couple of running backs in state. Hugh Freeze is starting to put together an offensive blueprint, and Walker White is the first big domino to fall there.
Yeah, you get that quarterback in place, and kind of the rest of the offensive class can kind of follow along with the quarterback. So who else is Auburn trending for this spring?
Yeah, running back Jamarian Burnett is an in-state running back, a big back that Cadillac Williams likes, and Cadillac still being on Auburn's staff is going to go a long way. You're going to watch that. 2 receivers to watch, Cameron Coleman, again out of Phoenix City Central, another in-state guy, trending toward Auburn on the RPM, and then Terrence Moore, who got an offer from Auburn a little whiles away from a different staff, has been in touch with Hugh for new staff. He's out of Tampa. Big talented receiver that's coveted by the Ohio States, Alabamas of the world right now, and he's got his eye on Auburn.
All right, we're going to talk more about Auburn throughout the spring, I'm sure, but let's move on to the 4th hottest team heading into the offseason, and that is the Clemson Tigers. They're currently sitting at number 11 in the 2024 rankings, but they cleaned up this month. They landed 4-star tight end Christian Bentancur. He's 6'5", 235, top 100 overall. 4-star safety Noah Dixon, number 178 overall. And 4-star defensive lineman Champ Thompson, he checks in at number 238 overall, 6'3", 250 pounds. But coming off of that Walker White news, we're looking at Clemson and the QB dominoes. Could they be in position to land four-star quarterback Jaden Davis, the number 2 quarterback in the country? He was a longtime favorite to head to Michigan, but with everything going on with Jim Harbaugh, could this be a situation where Clemson jumps into his recruitment?
I think they're going to try. I mean, they've moved on from Jaden Davis for the fact that Jaden was leaning toward Michigan since the back end of last season. He's been visiting Ann Arbor. He recently took a visit out to North Carolina, which is his in-state school, the Tar Heels. But Clemson, after missing on a lot of quarterbacks, starting with DJ Lagway and now Walker White, they could do a lot worse than trying to circle back to Jaden Davis to try to, re-energize recruitment, because he's one of the better quarterbacks, obviously still on the table. Jaden Davis would definitely be the first. And I know that they've also had some contact with a quarterback that Garrett Riley used to recruit when he was at TCU.
Sam, is it time for Clemson to turn it on in recruiting?
Yeah, I think that they could use some juice on the trail and kind of rewrite the ship. Like we talked about, some misses at the quarterback position, but it's still only February. They just hired new coordinators. Everyone is just getting into place. It's still Clemson. It's still Dabo Swinney. I think that the culture of Clemson is an alluring presence, and visits are. I think by the time when kids start resuming visits in March and April, and they can go see Clemson again, now that the coordinators are settled in and comfortable, I think we're going to see Clemson pick up the pace.
All right, before we move on to the Florida Gators, I need you guys to do me a favor. Like this video and subscribe to the On3 YouTube page. We have all the latest recruiting developments and a ton of college football content. So subscribe right now to the On3 YouTube page. All right, the 5th hottest team in the country heading into 2024 are the Florida Gators. They finish outside the top 10 in 23 after losing Jaden Rashada, but they're hot in 24. They're currently sitting at number 3. This class is anchored by quarterback DJ Lagway. He's the number 21 overall prospect in America, and they just added 2 elite linebackers to this class in Miles Graham and Adarius Hayes. Chauncey Bowen is committed as well. UGA's working to flip him. Sam, what does it mean for a class like the Florida Gators to have a quarterback like DJ Lagway committed this early?
This was all part of Billy Napier's plan. Like, obviously, he had hoped to have Jaden Rashada on the roster by now, but in terms of building this 2024 class, I think it's going to be imperative for Billy Napier to really kind of put this class together and end it with a little bit more gusto than last year's. But having DJ Lagway in place, he has been hard at work recruiting, and obviously he's also been rehabbing and getting better for his senior season over at Willis High School in Houston. But DJ Lagway is the perfect face for the class. If you're Florida, he's an infectious personality. He's an elite athlete. He's going to be at Florida for a ton of junior days, a ton of spring recruiting visit weekends, and I think Florida, with him in place, a lot of people are going to want to be around DJ.
Yeah, DJ Lagway has really been the bell cow for Florida's 2024 class, doing a great job of drawing interest from other recruits. And as we know, relationships are important, and so are relationships from recruit to recruit. So the big question I have for you, Sam, is can UF start to close the gap on the top tier of the SEC, like Georgia, Bama, and Tennessee?
That's a great question. We started off earlier in the show saying that no one could recruit like Georgia and Alabama, and I still think that at the end of the day, I mean, what's a better recruitment to look back than Des Ricks ended up at Alabama, right? At the end of the day, a highly competitive recruitment that at one time maybe favored Florida, maybe at one time favored LSU, but still ended up at Alabama. I think that just comes with the stigma that comes with the program when you have Nick Saban or Kirby Smart and the resumes that they have. I think Billy Napier is a fantastic coach. I think Florida's future is very, very bright with him being in charge. And like we talked about, the class that they're building is really, really good it was a great 2023 class, and they had the pieces of a really elite 2024 class. I do think we need to see some movement on the field, and then we'll see them win those those tighter roles toward the end, that with the Alabamas and Georgias of the world.
All right, let's take a look at the top 10 for 2024 right now. You got Georgia and Alabama, 1 and 2, followed by Florida, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. At number 6 is Louisville, off to a hot start. Then you got South Carolina, FSU, LSU. And at number 10 right now, you got Michigan State. So those are the teams that we said are hot starting the year. Now let's talk about a couple programs that we fully expect to heat up as we head into spring and into summer, starting with Texas. They're currently sitting at 20th overall with only 3 commitments, but they're just getting started. Look at some of these top targets: Micah Hudson, Colin Simmons, 4-star offensive tackle Michael Uini, and 4-star running back Taylor Tatum. All right, let's start at the top with Micah Hudson. What are you hearing there?
Yeah, this is a local kid from Temple, Texas, about an hour away from Austin. He's been visiting Texas quite a bit. We've talked on this show they play all their games Friday night, so he was able to really stay local during the season. So he was able to get to the 40 acres quite a few times during the season. They just hired a new wide receivers coach at Texas who's made quite a few trips to Lake Belton High School to check on Micah Hudson and his very talented teammate on 3 top 100 cornerbacks, Selman Bridges, both in the same high school. Texas working a local connection there. I think they're in a good spot. It's far from over. Texas Tech is in this. Ohio State is in this. Georgia is trying to get in this. But I like where Texas is early with Micah. 5-star edge Colin Simmons, the MVP from the state championship out of Duncanville. We know that Texas is engraved in one of his top 3 or 4 schools, LSU, Alabama, Georgia. Texas is working to get him on campus. I expect for a junior day this spring. We're talking about them heating up, getting Colin Simmons and the Duncanville crew on campus. And Austin is only going to make waves in the 40 acres. And, now they have a secret weapon in Arch Manning now for the Longhorns, fully on campus. With or without a student ID, I do not know. Michael Uini is one of 2 on 300 offensive tackles within a stone's throw of Texas's campus, along with Blake Frazier from Vandegrift High School there in Austin. And Texas has offers to both of these local tackles. Kyle Flood loves big men. These are 2 of the best big men in the country. And they're, like I said, they're right outside of Texas's campus. Both have visited this spring. I'd expect them to work them. And then Taylor Tatum out of Longview, Texas, and East Texas on 3's number 2 back in the country. He's been visiting out of state, but he made his way to Texas for a big junior day, and he really raved about that. He said that Steve Sarkisian spent time with him, that he didn't see Steve Sarkisian spend time with any other player on that junior day like that.
Yeah, Texas recruiting going to heat up coming out of the winter. There's no doubt in my mind. You got Arch Manning on campus now. He was a great recruiter when he was just a recruit. Now he's on campus. I'm sure he's going to help out a good bit there. Let's move on to Tennessee. There's no question Tennessee's about to go on a run. They're currently sitting at 14th with only 3 commitments. But the big question is, who will follow behind Nico Imaliava? Right now, quarterback Drake Merklinger seems to be trending to Tennessee. What are you hearing there, Sam?
Yeah, he's trending on the RPM, and he's one of the top, big name quarterbacks in this 2024 class that could kind of go a bunch of different ways. But look at what Josh Heupel is doing at Tennessee, and he's got Nico on campus now. That's a big step. Tennessee has a lot of momentum, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And we're going to talk about some of these defensive players that they've been getting on campus. But Jake Merklinger can sling it, man. And he's not Nico in terms of the athletic profile, because probably no one really is. But he is a outstanding Southeastern Conference quarterback. Big arm, big frame. It just hasn't seemed to find a home. But Tennessee, a really good quarterback, is starting to make some waves. And they've also gotten top 75 running back Nathaniel Frazier. He's an in-state guy that's blowing up. Talk about electric running backs and Josh Heupel's offense. That seems like a perfect match. We talked about Ryan Wingo, the number 1 receiver in the country, along with J.J. Harrell from Mississippi, getting both of those talented receivers on campus the last month. And then you talk about the defensive side of the ball, 5-star defensive lineman Williams Nweri. He's already visited. He said that he would like to come back for another visit. You expect that he wants to see Rocky Top during the season. Tennessee, we saw what they did last year, and the sky is the limit for Josh Heupel and this next year. And depending on what Nico does, that could even be even more momentum for them.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's going to go on a run. They're going to start filling up the commit sheet here soon. Top 100 linebacker Edwin Spillman is trending to Tennessee. That's an Ohio State battle there, but his older brother Nate signed with the Vols in 2023, so I give them the edge there. All right, so we'll see where Tennessee finishes up, but I think they're about to heat up. All right, moving on to USC. They are currently sitting 17th, only 2 commitments, but they just hosted #1 overall player Dylan Raiola on a visit. They're in it for 4-star offensive tackle Brandon Baker, 4-star interior offensive lineman DeAndre Carter, and the number 6 defensive lineman in America, T.A. Cunningham. Sam, what are you hearing about the USC Trojans as we head into the spring?
Well, first off, Dylan Raiola visiting is nothing to look past. We know that Lincoln Riley, he had Malachi Nelson when he was at Oklahoma. So the 2023 class was never really a quest for a quarterback for Lincoln Riley. But he has his work cut out for him. He's already missed on DJ Lagway in 2024. Julian Sayin, the best quarterback on the West Coast, is committed to Alabama. So Lincoln Riley has some homework to do, and we'll see if he can make some moves with Dylan Raiola, the #1 quarterback in the country, #1 player in the country, and really a no-brainer about that. But here's what stands out to me about what Lincoln Riley, if he wants to win at USC, is recruiting in the trenches, and he's in with a lot of these local big men on both sides of the ball. Brandon Baker and DeAndre Carter are no question, elite level offensive linemen, all local. And then T.A. Cunningham, we know he's an SEC transplant, but he's in LA. This becomes USC's race to lose. It's easy to get him on campus. It's easy to get him to come by and swing by practices. And right now, I think that they're trending in the right spot. I think they're going to go on a big run, especially when they get their quarterback.
Yeah, that'll help a lot, putting that quarterback in place. But also, Lincoln Riley and USC are about to show really well at the NFL draft. I think that'll keep recruiting hot into the summer months. It's going to be fun to follow. All right, Sam Spiegelman, thanks for joining the Inside Scoop today.
Thanks for having me.
See ya.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. And remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.